The offer. No one expected first contact to be so polite. They came in silence, sliding through the void like shadows. Dozens of sleek, shimmering ships arrived in Earth's orbit, invisible to radar but lighting up telescopes from every observatory on the planet. They didn't attack. No grand speeches. No booming threats. Just a soft chime on every satellite frequency, every internet node, every emergency broadcast system. A calm voice, clear, elegant, and somehow completely neutral, spoke in every major human language. Do not be alarmed. We are the Valdari. We come with peace. Earth has been noted as a developing civilization. We offer protection. The message looped for hours. In the streets, people panicked, prayed, and filmed it all for social media. In the bunkers, military brass dusted off contingency plans drawn up by war gamers who never expected to use them. And in a hastily assembled UN conference, Earth's leaders stared wide-eyed at the holographic figure projected before them. Tall, translucent, glowing faintly blue, the Valdari ambassador looked like a sculpture carved from light. Its voice was calm, almost soothing. Your world lies on the edge of a conflict zone, it said. We offer inclusion in the Galactic Accord, and protection under its treaty terms. You may retain cultural sovereignty but will accept defense governance under Valdari supervision. That's when Captain Nia Arden stood up. She was no longer in uniform, retired 5 years ago after a long career in Space Command. But the UN had called her in, and she'd watched silently until now, jaw clenched, eyes sharp. Protection from what, exactly? She asked. The Valdari's head tilted slightly. It was hard to tell if it was confused or amused. The Drexar, it said simply. A war species. Expansionist. They do not negotiate. They consume. Their fleets are within 2 solar jumps of your system. Earth is not ready. And you think we'll just roll over? Join your accord, hand over our skies, our defenses, our sovereignty. The ambassador gave a slight incline, its version of a nod. You are not a militarized species. Not on an interstellar scale. Your odds of survival without protection are. Save it, Arden cut in. Gasps rippled through the room, but she kept her voice even. You came here assuming we were defenseless. That we'd beg you to save us. You have no idea who we are. There was a pause. The Valdari didn't react immediately. Arden took a slow breath and stepped forward, placing both hands on the long polished table. We've been here before, she said. We've stared down empires, fought tyrants. We've clawed our way through centuries of blood, fire, and war just to look up at the stars and say, that's next. You think we'll cower behind your shields like pets? Her voice hardened. We're not afraid of the dark. We grew up in it. President Hassan, chairing the session, cleared his throat. Captain. Arden raised a hand. Let me finish. The Valdari envoy remained silent, listening. You say they're coming. That Earth is in danger. Well, maybe that's true. But we won't bow. Not to them, and not to you. You want to work with us? Fine. You want to make Earth part of your club? Earn our trust first. But if you came expecting gratitude, you're going to be disappointed. The Valdari finally responded. You misunderstand. We are not conquerors. We offer peace, not dominance. And yet here you are, Arden replied, telling us how doomed we are, offering a leash and calling it a lifeline. There was silence in the chamber. The Valdari's projection slowly shimmered. I will convey your perspective, it said. Then the hologram vanished. For a long time, no one spoke. Then Arden turned to the stunned assembly. They think we're soft, she said. They looked at our art and our music and our chaos and thought it meant we weren't ready. They have no idea what it took to get here. Someone at the back whispered, what if the Drexar really are that bad? Arden stared out the window toward the blackness of space. Then they'll learn what happens when you back a cornered species into a wall. The warning. 3 days after the Valdari left orbit, humanity stopped pretending things were normal. Satellites tracked the anomalies first, tiny blips on long-range scopes, faint distortions in the heliosphere, solar lensing that didn't match any natural phenomenon. Someone finally said it out loud in a press briefing. Something's coming. The Valdari had warned them. They hadn't pushed the issue after Arden's speech, but they hadn't left either. Their ships still lingered in high orbit, watching, waiting. A silent reminder that their offer still stood. But Earth wasn't waiting anymore. They were preparing. At a remote Arctic facility beneath a glacier, General Koslov stood in a command room lined with old maps and new monitors. He was a relic of another age, gray-bearded, gruff, the kind of man who used a pencil instead of a stylus. Across from him stood Nia Arden, now in uniform again. Black tactical fabric, high-collared, and without a single unnecessary ornament. They stood side by side, watching the activation of Project Bastion. "Did you ever believe we'd need this?" Arden asked. Koslov didn't look at her. "I always believed we'd regret not building it." With a deep groan, the Earth's orbital defense grid came online, satellites cloaked for decades flickering back into life. Kinetic kill vehicles. Solar siphon lasers. AI-managed railguns on the moon. For years, Project Bastion had been dismissed as a paranoid Cold War throwback with no real threat to justify it. Now, it was the last wall between Earth and whatever was coming. Across the world, nations dropped old rivalries. Chinese quantum engineers worked with NASA veterans. Indian defense satellites shared data with European warships. A united front, not because of utopian diplomacy, but because Earth had no other choice. "What about first strike?" Koslov asked. Arden raised an eyebrow. "You're suggesting we hit something before it arrives?" He gave a shrug. "It's not like we've ever been good at waiting." She smiled slightly. "Let's hold off on blind aggression for now." Outside the base, a new kind of soldier was being trained. Men and women in advanced exoframes, built from carbon polyalloys and smart foam that hardened under impact. Neural-linked targeting. Cold planet adaptability. Hardened for vacuum if needed. And watching them all train was Raj Malik. He was younger than Arden by nearly 2 decades. A hot-headed systems specialist who volunteered for field duty the minute the alert went out. No medals. No real combat record. Just a stubborn streak and an annoying sense of optimism. "I heard the Drexar eat their enemies," he said one night in the bunk room. Arden didn't look up from her datapad. "Then let's hope they choke." Raj grinned. "That a quote from your last war?" "No," she said, finally glancing at him. "That one's just for you." He laughed, then looked serious for a moment. "You think we can actually win?" Arden considered that. "I think we can't afford to lose." At the edge of the solar system, probes sent blurry images back, angular shapes moving through the void, big as cities, blacker than space itself. Drexar ships. Organometallic monsters with no clear propulsion systems and no obvious purpose but one: approach. Invade. Consume. The world's media didn't show the real footage. Governments called it debris. But those in the know, the ones on the line, watched the clock. 5 days became 4. Then 3. The Valdari sent one final message. A soft, almost sympathetic tone. "This is your last chance to accept Accord protection. The Drexar will not wait. They do not respect bravery. They respect nothing. Your resistance will mean extinction." Arden responded herself. The message she sent back was short. "Tell them to bring everything they've got. First blood." They didn't come with diplomacy. They came with teeth. The first Drexar ships entered the solar system in silence. No signals, no communication, no flashing lights. Just a mass of black, shifting hulls, like a school of metallic predators swimming through the void. Each ship moved like it was alive, because it was. Bioengineered warcraft, bred, not built. Earth's telescopes had never seen anything like them. When they reached Mars, they didn't stop to study the colony. They tore it apart. The outposts on Olympus Mons barely had time to activate defense turrets before the Drexar unleashed their weapons. Liquefying plasma that melted bunkers like butter, spore bombs that spread like fire across the surface, consuming metal, atmosphere, everything. The first humans to die in the Drexar War never saw their killers. Only the destruction. But Earth was watching. And Earth did not sit still. Within minutes of the Mars assault, Operation Spearpoint went live. From orbit, cloaked drones launched themselves toward the outer solar system, each carrying high-density rods, nothing more than tungsten and fury. The first strikes didn't aim to destroy Drexar ships outright, just to send a message. It worked. The kinetic impacts slammed into two of the leading Drexar cruisers. Their strange, chitinous hulls cracked like eggshells, venting clouds of organic gas and glowing fluid. The rest of the swarm shifted formation instantly, like a living hive reacting to a sting. General Koslov watched from a command platform at Bastion Control. All screens. All feeds. No blinking. They know we're not prey anymore, he muttered. Back on Earth, Nia Arden prepped with Strike Team Viper. 10 elite soldiers, equipped with the best tech Earth could field. She wore a new suit, built for zero-G boarding operations, with magnetic boots, high-pressure seals, and a rail pistol that punched through reinforced Drexar armor. Her team was headed for one of the Drexar hive ships, a massive, slowly advancing creature the size of Manhattan. Their mission: sabotage the core. Blow it to hell from the inside. They were launched via a stealth insertion capsule. No engines, no heat signature, just momentum and prayer. Inside the capsule, Raj Malik checked his systems twice, fingers twitching. "You ever been inside something that wanted to eat you alive?" he asked, voice shaking slightly. "Once," Arden replied, eyes forward. "Southeast Jakarta. Jungle Op paramilitary nest." Raj blinked. "What happened?" "I walked out." "They didn't." The capsule shuddered. "Impact." They were inside. When the hatch opened, they were in a space that wasn't a corridor, wasn't a room, just something vast and living. Pulsing walls, the smell of ammonia and decay. The hive ship wasn't just grown, it was still growing. Tubes of fluid pumped through translucent veins in the walls. Things moved in the dark. "Eyes up," Arden ordered, voice clipped. They advanced quickly, planting charges near the central nerve clusters identified from orbit. But before the last one was set, the hive responded. Drexar infantry poured out of the walls, multi-limbed, segmented beasts with armor grown like bone, eyes like pits. They screamed without mouths and attacked without hesitation. The firefight was short and savage. Human rounds shredded the front ranks. Arden took down 3 before one tackled her into a wall. She stabbed it with a monomolecular blade and fired point-blank. Raj yanked her out before more could close in. "We're surrounded," someone shouted. "Then we finish what we came here to do," Arden balked. She handed Raj the last charge. "You get to the core. I'll buy time." He stared at her, panting, face bloodied. "I'm not leaving you." "You are. That's an order." He hesitated, then ran. Arden turned, facing the corridor, reloading her weapon. More screams echoed from deep inside the hive. She held the line. Raj reached the core, something pulsing and massive, and planted the charge. As he armed it, he spoke softly into the comms. "For Earth." The explosion lit up the dark side of the hive ship. Pieces of it scattered into space, glowing like a dying star. From orbit, the watching Valdari fleet recorded everything. General Koslov received the transmission 15 minutes later. "Strike team down. Hive destroyed." He nodded once, tight-lipped. And somewhere in deep space, the Drexar stopped advancing. For the first time in the war, they hesitated. "We are the wall." They held a funeral in orbit. There were no flags, no salutes, just silence. The kind that settles in the void when everything else has been burned away. A small formation of ships floated near the shattered wreck of the Drexar hive ship. A single pod, marked with Earth's insignia, carried the remains of Strike Team Viper. Or what was left of them. Raj Malik's name was now etched into the data wall of Earth's orbital memorial. Arden's, too, but with an asterisk. No confirmed death. No signal. Just gone. General Koslov watched the ceremony from a hardened view deck aboard the command cruiser Tianhe. The old man didn't cry. He didn't speak. He simply stood, hands behind his back, jaw clenched as the pod was released into space and slowly drifted into the stars. After a minute, a voice behind him spoke. "They did what we thought was impossible." Koslov turned to see President Hassan, suited up in zero-G gear. His eyes were tired. Sleepless. They proved we could hurt them, Kozlov replied. But we still don't know if we can win. There was a long pause. Maybe winning isn't the point, Hassan said finally. Maybe surviving is. Kozlov gave him a long look. We survive by fighting. That's the only reason we're still here. On Earth, a signal came through, brief, fractured, nearly indecipherable. A voice, barely audible through static. Not dead. Repeat, not core breached, but I escaped outer drift. Coordinates. Technicians ran it through every filter, AI decoder, and noise cleaning system available. The result? Nia Arden was alive. Barely. Floating in a damaged suit, somewhere in the debris field of the destroyed Drexar hive ship. Emergency oxygen. No beacon. Just the burning will to survive. Within 20 minutes, an Earth recovery vessel was dispatched under stealth protocol. The Valdari, ever watchful, pinged the ship but didn't interfere. For the first time since the standoff began, they sent a simple message. She is more than we expected. Earth didn't reply. When they pulled Arden from the wreck field, she looked half dead. But she was conscious. The medics tried to sedate her. She refused. I need to speak, she rasped. They routed her into Bastion Command within the hour. Kozlov stared at the screen, face grim. You look terrible, he said. I feel worse, she replied, trying not to cough. But I saw what's coming. The room went silent. The hive we destroyed? It wasn't a lead vessel. It was a scout. A damn test. The real Drexar fleet is still out there. Hundreds of ships. Maybe thousands. Kozlov didn't blink. Time. A week. Maybe less. There was no panic. No shouting. Just the weight of reality pressing down on every person in the room. They had drawn blood. Now the Drexar would come in force. The world prepared like never before. Earth skies darkened with defense drones. Orbital platforms were upgraded. Civilian vessels were repurposed into gunships. Even the Valdari seemed to acknowledge the shift. They moved their fleet back, maintaining distance. They knew now, humanity would fight alone. In a press address broadcast to every major network and orbital outpost, President Hassan delivered one final speech. They warned us. They offered protection. And we said no, not because we wanted war, but because we would not live in fear. We are not the galaxy's children. We are its survivors. We did not claw our way through ice ages, empires, and extinction events just to be told when and how we're allowed to exist. So hear this, Drexar. We are not your prey. We are the wall. And we do not break. The world rallied behind those words. Not because they believed they would win, but because they believed they had no right to go down quietly. Even the Valdari watched in silence. In the deep dark, the Drexar began to move again. No longer slowly, no longer testing. They were coming. And Earth was waiting.